Hi, good afternoon. I'm with the lovely Jacko today
Hi
on
guys.
Hasbro TV. Hi, Jacko. How are you doing today? Happy Easter.
Yeah, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Good Easter. Not a good result on the weekend, but we
Yeah,
are trying to move
we're
on,
going to
you
get
know?
into that in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I take it you weren't happy with yesterday's result as well as much
Yeah,
as me, despite,
yeah,
Arsenal losing later on. But so let's analyze what happened, because
yeah.
at the beginning for me, I felt like we started very not negatively, that's probably not the right word, but we
We
didn't
live
start
low. Yeah.
we didn't start in the right way. We didn't take the initiative, and I felt like Brighton just dominated the game after that. So, what do you think, first of all, tactically we got wrong?
I think that's a lot. We need to give credits also to Potter and to the Brighton team because I think that Potter studied very well the Conte system and he put his team in the best possible shape to be against us. Their midfield was really dynamic because Bissouma, Mwepu, and Caicedo are free players that runs a lot. On the wings, they outplayed us absolutely on the wings, and that's a big problem if you are in a Conte system. Lamptey and Cucurella were all over the place, not allowing our wingbacks that are not quality, but they were not allowing them to make any offensive runs. They were always keeping them in pressure, and in possession they were very tidy. So I think that Brighton find the key on the to beat the Conte system. The start was, as you said, very important, absolutely crucial, because I think that as a Conte team, we need to make sure that we start well, that we get the first goal, that we get the intensity right. In that order, you can go after and put our usual transition that allow us to create a lot of chances and be one of the team that create the most. So the what we miss is like the start was really bad, allowing Brighton to get back with confidence, so to play with confidence, and I think that's we looked nervous for the first time, really nervous on the pitch. The passes, the movements, there was all slow, not the rhythm that we are used to see. So I think that's a credit to Brighton, but we looked nervous, and some of the players looked nervous yesterday. We can see
Do
that.
you think, I felt like as Spurs as a club, we are very complacent. Do you think that the players got a bit complacent, just thinking they could turn up and beat Brighton? Because I felt that a bit.
I hope not, but I can see that they are doing that. I hope not because I want to think that that's only a bad day at the office, classic situation when you don't know how to handle this kind of pressure in some situation. Because I was seeing some players that were not confident at all. They were too rushy. So I'm thinking that they are not an overconfident. At some point, they see ourselves into the pitch and they were losing confidence into the match. They know that this game, we all see this game, and that was a very difficult game to win. Even watching the game, there was no real hope that we were gonna score, that we were gonna beat that team. So even the player into the pitch lose easily the confidence. And credit to Brighton because I think that they put an amazing tactical performance and amazing technical performance because they lose very few times the ball. They move the ball quickly. They move the ball with smart passes, and I think that they outplayed us. But in the end, we crumbled, and that was the worst part because you can, in my opinion, you can have a bad day at the office. We cannot think that we are that team that will put every week performances like the last six, because if not, we were on top of the league, maybe because we were playing
Yeah.
out of our mind. But the reality is coming back sometimes, and you need to realize also that
Yeah.
this was a little bit a reality check that you say, okay, we are improving, but we still have something that is not working well. So a little bit of reality check, but we need that. We need to react.
I was going to point out a couple of situations of players. Now, Harry Kane has sort of got back his form under Conte, but say Brighton, he was awful. I've just got to be honest about that.
Yeah.
And do you think he travelled to America to watch the Masters, and people saying he was jet lagged? Do you think that actually made a difference to his performance?
I don't think that makes the difference. I think that is a narrative that is natural that come out when you lose, of course, because you are gonna
Mm.
search for something that is not going well. But I think that's the main problem with Harry. Yes, he looked a little bit off, so you can have this kind of narrative about the jet lag was causing that. But I still think that the main problem was other. But Kane was, I think that was the first game where I see Kane really wasteful in possession, even though he was not getting involved so much. But when he had the ball, he was not the Kane that we used to see. He was not getting this kind of forward pass, vertical balls that we all know that will put the opponent team in difficult place. So I think that Kane was a part of the collective that it was not working, and I really struggled to see one man that was really working and say, okay, he played brilliantly. I think that's maybe the best one can be Højbjerg, but for
Yeah,
the
I thought the same as well. Yeah,
yeah,
but
so,
do you think also the early kickoff played a part or not? Because I know we don't do well in early kickoffs from the past.
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that's absolutely right. I hate I
I
don't
hate to
look
mention it.
forward to it. I don't look forward to it. That can be a possibility, but listen, I think that if we're gonna take top four, we need to not look at this thing. The squad needs to perform more consistently, and we were getting consistency. So that's my positive side. It's not like a little bit the Arsenal situation that we are gonna touch later, but that we are coming from a bad situation and we put another bad game. We were coming from a good situation and now we put a bad game. We are in a position that if the next game we get it right, we come back to that kind of situation where we were like, and as a Spurs fan. So I'm watching this as a bad day at the office versus a team that people underestimate one thing because yes, it's Brighton, but Brighton away is a very tough team to play because they lose only 3 times versus Newcastle, Aston Villa, and I think that was Manchester United, but scoring 2 times in the end, Manchester United. They drew versus at Anfield, they drew at Stamford Bridge, they win at the Emirates, they win at our ground. So he's a team that's naturally more suited to play away, and plus they were getting back a lot of important players. They were looking completely different team between what we beat the last 2 times. So I think that we play one of the worst teams to play against because naturally they are very dangerous for a Conte system because they are dynamic midfield, dynamic wingbacks, and they can keep possession. So that was a really tough match. And the problem that I'm having with the match is not that we could not create, we could not do nothing because that can happen. It's the goal in the end. The goal in the end was absolutely unnecessary because when you're not playing good, at least don't lose. That's the thing. When you're not playing good, at least don't lose. That's what it is. But we lost even that situation, and that's a bad hit.
I mean, for me, when I was at the stadium,
Yeah.
I also felt like it was coming in the sense that my dad says this a lot in Greek. I'm not going to say the Greek way of saying it, but it was cooking because Brighton were they were all over us. And I don't even remember, we didn't have a shot on target. I don't know if, we didn't have a shot on target.
No,
and you just felt, I guess sometimes you sent these things, and my dad's watched football a lot longer than me. And he sensed that they were going to score. And like 2 minutes later, they scored with Trossard. Now, you mentioned a lot about Potter hitting the Conte system. So I think it's time to talk about the fullbacks now. So what did you think of Emerson and Reguilon? Because I wasn't impressed with Emerson.
That's one of the. I don't even like to go all on 2 players and say they are the reason why, but they are part of the reason for sure. Let's not gonna hide on that. Them two, the problem that we are having is that when we have them two playing, the other player needs to put a 10 out of 10 performances because they don't suit the system in terms of off-ball movements. Off-ball movement is one of the most important things to have in a Conte system because you need to move to create the space, to create the situation. And when you see Doherty, not Doherty, unfortunately not Doherty, Emerson and Reguilon, they are just not comfortable to go forward, to go in the final third, to keep the composure in the final third. That's a big factor because when we had, I think that's the highest of confidence that I felt with Spurs this year with Conte was when we had the Sessegnon and Doherty. Them two were the two that you can trust when they get into the final third. They can do the assist, they can do the goal, and with the ball they are better in the one-touch football, one-touch passes, pass and move. These two that we have right now, we are in our lowest because Reguilon and Doherty, and again Doherty, Emerson, are not right wing backs, are not wing backs. Reguilon is a left back.
I think
Emerson is a right back.
I think with Emerson especially, what bothered me the most is that I feel like he's not wide enough. I think he comes inside too much. And obviously we know about his issue with crossing. Let's go into that. And with Reguilon, I think he's another player who I expect a lot more of because obviously he came from Madrid.
Yeah.
And like you said you prefer, say, Sessegnon and Doherty. Like I agree with you with Doherty, but with Sessegnon, I find he's almost like playing within himself, which is probably why I prefer Reguilon at the moment. But I do think Conte is more of a Sessegnon fan. But why do you think, for example, yesterday, because Sessegnon wasn't on the bench, but why do you think, for example, we missed Doherty more yesterday than anyone else? Because I felt that myself.
Absolutely. I think that's Doherty. We are looking at Doherty in one of the key players, not in the terms that maybe not on the level of Harry Kane, but we don't need to underestimate how important is Doherty because he's our only competent fullback that knows the role, knows very well the role, do the basics right, do the things right with the good rhythm, with the good movements. I can trust fully Doherty in this system. So I was gutted, and that's strange to say because if we go back 1 year, no one was saying this kind of phrase about Doherty. But I was really confident about Doherty. So that was a big hit for the team and even for me as a fan, because when I was seeing Doherty playing on the wing, I know that at least on the right, we can create something. Yesterday, I was looking at the team and I was saying there is no way that we're going to create anything because they were getting a lot of bodies in midfield. They were not getting the possibility to pass to Kane, to Kulusevski, and to Son. And the wingbacks, they were open, but they were not even worrying so much about the wingbacks because they are not worrying. Them two are not worrying offensively wise. And even I have also a problem, the equal problem also with Reguilon. I know that sounds a little bit controversial and I can get why, but he have not the composure in the final third. He's a player that overdoes things sometimes. Either a little bit too much, or when he does things, he's not calm, he's not relaxed. With Sessegnon, the problem is the confidence. As you said, sometimes you see the confidence is not there in the kid. But in the last period, we were seeing a different Sessegnon, confidence Sessegnon. And that confidence Sessegnon is the one that we need to recover, because if not, we are going to have a lot of problem with the two wingbacks. So let's hope.
I think for me with Doherty, and maybe I don't know if people realize this, but I think with him the advantage is that he takes very good positions in and around the box, and I think that's where we've got a lot of joy from. Like he's not the kind of fullback like Kyle Walker was or Danny Rose was in the old Pochettino system. And as you know, because I consider you the Conte expert, so the fullbacks are the most important part of the system. So when it's not working, it's a very big problem. I also want to touch on two other players because you mentioned Kulusevski earlier. So why do you think, for example, he struggled more yesterday? Because I felt it was more to do with the pace of the game, but I couldn't put my finger on why he was struggling like even more than everyone else. So why do you think he was struggling?
Yesterday, Kulusevski, I think that struggled since the first minute. I think that he struggled mostly mentally into the game. I was seeing a version of Kulusevski that I was not seeing before. He was always very calm, very relaxed, very intelligent player that knows how to take position, knows how to play the ball. Yesterday, I think that he lost his head very quickly into the game. And the best example that I can see is the elbow that he threw at Cucurella. That was really lucky. Let's not get away from that. That was really lucky to not get sent off. And even only the intention of that can be a red. Let's not go, because that was a very dangerous act. Very dangerous act. So you can see from that you usually don't do that. He was feeling too much, I think, the game. He was not getting with the quality and the confidence that he usually have. And this is a big part of our team, because between him and Son, he's the most comfortable to get the ball between the lines, to connect the midfield from that and the attack. He's the most comfortable to do that. And yesterday he was missing because the first half very nervous, taking the yellow. Couldn't have done brilliantly to put him out, because there is no way that you're gonna keep a player that is on a yellow and is nervous into the game. You were gonna send off at some moment. I was feeling it. So that was the situation. But Kulusevski is a player that needs to play with confidence, with calm, without this mental side, because he grow into the game. There are games where Kulusevski maybe until the 60th minutes is not on the game, but then he unlocks something and his confidence come back, and he will, in 10 minutes, he will create a lot of chances. So he's a player that will grow into the game. But yesterday, mentally, he was not there. And that was the main problem. And I could have seen that even the touches, he was not into the game. So I think that it was a mental side.
And you think mental, okay? Because
Yep.
I was trying to work it out myself. I was just wondering why he seemed so off it. But
Yep.
like you said, he tends to play in the pockets, and he comes inside obviously a lot more. So he has a very different role in the system compared to someone like Lucas, who got brought on later in the game. Now, do you think the changes actually made any sort of difference? I know we conceded, but initially at least. And because I was, for myself, because I could see Kulusevski was struggling a lot. So I wanted Lucas on from half time. I was like, just take him off now because he doesn't know if anything's going to happen today. But do you think, for example, Winks got brought on, who, as you know on Twitter, because we know each other on Twitter, but he got a lot of stick. And
we know how Twitter works, but let's football and Twitter, football and Twitter are two different things in some way, because people like a lot to get stick to win. I think that's what we had on the bench. What we had on the bench. Let's have a conversation about that. What are our options? And Bentancur, you were seeing Bentancur. It was awful. It was awful yesterday, Bentancur.
Do you think? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that rumor that he had a late fitness test was correct then? Because he didn't seem fully fit to me when I was there.
Yeah, I hope that, because that was a very bad performance, and I love Bentancur. Let's not get away from that. I like it really much, Bentancur. But yesterday was awful. He was never getting one ball cleanly into other player. He was not getting the right passes, the right movements. He was not carrying the ball. He was not going forward. He was not Bentancur. He was another player. Yesterday, it seemed like he was completely another player. So he was also. I think that's a collective problem for sure. I think that the team was not there, but he doesn't look right yesterday, and so that was absolutely fine to put him out of the game. I think that I was calling for that also from home. And what you have on the bench, that's the problem that we're having with Tottenham.
It's a massive problem.
There is not even Kip. So Wings can change a little bit something. I know. Next year, Wings cannot be into the team.
We both know this, I think.
We know that. But I can go to the center of it. Maybe you are putting a fresh legs into the middle of the midfield. Wings sometimes can run a lot. He cannot defend well. He cannot attack well, but he can bring some kind of a dynamic side that is not physical. But maybe he can change some situation into the game. It was not the case, of course, as we see. But we don't have a lot of option. Maybe the only thing was the Lucas and the Bergwijn change, maybe bring a little bit earlier Bergwijn and then later Moura. I don't know, but still, we don't have great option. Let's not gonna hide on that.
I mean, I find and it's not really, I don't think Conte's fault. His substitutions are all the same normally because we just don't have many options. He'll bring on Lucas, Bergwijn, and maybe a midfielder like Winks or whoever else is on the bench. And then what I thought was a bit like I would have done is maybe take off Emerson. I know this is a very weird thing. Shift Dye to right back or someone else to right back and go play a 4-4-2 and put Bergwijn right up with Kane. Because I know he's done something like that in the past, but he didn't do that. I'm not like baffled by it, but I thought that's something I would have done.
Yes, of course. Yeah. When you're losing, you're trying to find solution, of course, and that can be a solution, but it's not our manager. Unfortunately, he will frustrate us in a lot of times because he will be stubborn. Let's not hide that. Stubborn than anyone else in the world. But the positive side is that, for example, the Aston Villa game, first half was awful. And everyone was calling for changes. Everyone was calling for make a 3-5-2, make a 4-4-2, make something. They stick with that. And you can see that when you put yourself in the right position, you are going to get automatic after. That was automatic versus Aston Villa. As soon as Aston Villa dropped the level, we were 1-0 up. That was automatic. 3 goals, 1-2-3, and we know what to do. So I think that we stick a lot to the plan because if we score for, let's say, at the 75 minutes, you still have the system that you know. So you're 1-0 ahead, and that was the perfect situation to play 3-4-3. So when you're finding yourself in that situation, you're going to score the 2, the 3, and the 4 maybe. So you're going to close the game. You're going to kill the game. So I think that he's very stubborn, but not only because he's stubborn, because that is the way that we are gonna we are gonna exploit the difficulties into the other game. So I think that maybe it can be like 4-4-2, but then after you score, you risk to be too passive because you have not the plan to counter that. So when you have a perfectionist like him, it's very tough that he's changing all of his ideas. He will try, and that's the negative side when you're losing, because you say, that's very frustrating. Come on, change something. I can see that. Even me, I can see that. Why you cannot see that? But that's also the way why he keep consistency into the league, because he play always the same way. When you're struggling, when you're winning, when you're away, when you're at home, there is no difference. You're always playing like that. So we are gonna be frustrated.
Yeah, I can tell. But, I mean, I'm Mediterranean myself, so I'm quite stubborn, so I can't really say anything about that. but in terms of like Conte, I feel like, and I kind of warned some other Spurs fans like you about this, is that I think he will persist with this system because he wants the players in the squad to learn the system despite the circumstance, no matter if we win or lose. And I think, like he says, part of the process, is we're going to have to suffer a bit like this, where he just won't change the system.
Absolutely, mate. It's a little bit like Klopp, and I think that Klopp, people were remembering the first times of Klopp at Liverpool. They were not the brightest one in terms of playing, in terms of position. They were struggling a lot, but also that is a process that a system manager will always take. When you are getting to a team, you are going to install your way to play, regardless of how much you are going to lose. Because the most important thing is that to make clear of everyone, the team, all the environments, that you know how you're going to play. So you're not going to adapt for players. You're not going to adapt for wings. You are not going to adapt for other. They are the one that needs to adapt to you. So that's a positive sign, because we can see that when we get it right, we tend to do very well. 22 goals in 6 games, only 4 conceded. Beautiful. But when we get it wrong, we get it so wrong, like Brighton, so 0 chances created. But because we lose key players, we need to readjust. People that are into the system need to understand again the system, because losing key players and not having the ability to put another player of the same quality, all the team needs to readjust everything, because there are different dynamics. And in that situation, I can see that yesterday was like first time that we were with Conte. It seemed like the team was never playing with Conte. It is the first time. So that's because you change key player, and when you change key player and you have not the possibility to replace them with quality, and that's our main problem. That's why we will struggle, because our team cannot allow us to maintain consistency in the quality. When we lose a player, we replace a player with a worse player, and that will give the team a bad hit. But fortunately, we are in the top 4 race that allows us to be vulnerable, because the team around us are vulnerable too. So that's our thing that can give us a lot of confidence. We're still in the driver's seat, but something worrying yesterday happened. Let's be real. That loss was not necessary at all.
So I've noticed another sort of thing. Like, we lost to Wolves at home, we lost to Southampton at home, we lost to Brighton at home. Do you think those games were quite similar in terms of the way they played out then?
Absolutely, mate. And I'm always saying that I trust a lot more this team away than at home. People will find that a little bit strange, but I see that. I see when we are away, we look much more confident. When we are at home, the problem that we have at home is that people pay a lot of attention of our system. They will play not playing their football, even though Brighton played brilliantly, but they adjusted a little bit of what we were. So when they come at us, they know that this is a big game. This is a difficult game for them. They need to be very sure that they get all right, and they prepare the game based on the Antonio Conte system. So they came prepared to that, but prepared to play the football that will put us in a bad spot. And in that situation, you need a lot of time, some individual brilliance to get you out of the first step. Then you get to the 1-0, and after the game is exactly how you prepare it. Because once you get 1-0, it's very difficult to lose with the Conte system, because he will play the ball. You need to get to the ball, and when you get to the ball, he will get you. That is always the thing that he's trying to do. But what we lack is intensity and individual brilliance. And I think that more intensity is the best way, because when you get intensity, you can recover some balls in very difficult situations. You can create a lot of chances. Yesterday, the first 10 minutes was nothing for us. And that's one of the best periods with Conte, because Conte loves to get one early goal, like Aston Villa, for example.
Yeah.
That was bad, but we get one early goal. We were putting pressure. And yesterday was absolutely maybe the worst game that I've seen in a Conte system. I don't know, maybe not, but I was expecting more. I was expecting a little bit of a drop because we lose Doherty, but not like that. Let's be real, not.
So, I mean, we just spoke on Doherty again and Emerson earlier,
Yeah.
but would you try something different at right wing back then, like Lucas or Bergwijn? Because I know a lot of people on Twitter have been speaking about this sort of thing for a while.
No.
Would you try something different, or are we just going to have to leave it as Emerson for now and just suffer for it, I guess?
Yeah, we're going to suffer. We're going to suffer. We're going to suffer 6 games, but we are going to see Emerson every time. And that's the way that I think that is the best one also. I know that sounds very crazy, because you say, how can you not watch? How can you watch the last game and say that Emerson can be the right decision? But I still think it is. The problem with Moura and Bergwijn, that yes, we can attack better, but guys, let's not forget that we can't concede. We can't go 1 or 2-0 down. That's a thing that we cannot allow ourselves. We can never recover, and it's very difficult. Even versus Newcastle, we concede the goal and we put ourselves in a very bad spot. Then we get the goal before the half time, and that was crucial. That was a bad spot. So with Bergwijn and Lucas, you allow yourself in the defensive transition to be vulnerable, and that's the last thing in a very tough part of the season that you need to do. So Emerson will at least give you a little bit of solidity defensively wise, a little bit. In that position, maybe to defend is a little bit more confidence. But even yesterday was the example. We played awful. We were awful. But at least if we don't switch up at the end, that was 1 point. That was 0-0. So at least when we are not playing well, we are tough to beat. Of course, we cannot crumble like that in the end. But the game plan was not working, and still we could have got 1 point. And that would be a massive point, because 4-point cushion between us and Arsenal will be a different story. So that was a very bad hit, that goal. And I think that defensively we done horrendously there, horrendously.
So in terms of, we mentioned about the system and the way we played, so can you made a point that we look weaker at home than away? Now, do you think it's because we're playing in counter-attacking style of football? Because I think that's partly a reason. Because yesterday, I was at the game, and this is what I'm like at games, by the way. So I was screaming at the players to like press high, because I felt like Brighton was getting way too much respect and way too much of the ball. But because of the system, I don't know whether this is Conte, because you can probably answer this in a minute. We're just playing counter-attacking style, or whether it's to do with the personnel we have, where we have to play that style because we don't have another choice. So what do you think about that? Do you think it's the style? Do you think it's the personnel? Do you think it's both? Or do you think it's the tactics?
I think that it's a style. But the style work a lot if you have the right personnel. And when you don't have the right personnel, it's not a good looking style. It's not the Pochettino style. It's not something that will say a lot of triangles, a lot of quick passes. It's a style that is, you need to rely a lot on the individuals. And when you don't have it, sometimes can be frustrated. But I still think that we were not giving too much respect on Brighton. We were trying to exploit their weaknesses, because in the moments then the team keep possession, but you are very, very solid defensively wise. And you have a plan, not only counter-attack, but it's also transitional plan, because even when Lloris is having the ball, not in Brighton game, of course, but usually we get out of that situation from the back. So that is not counter-attack. And that is one of our main strengths, because when we don't get well the building from the back, like versus Brighton, we don't create absolutely nothing. So we are not a lot of a counter-attack football team. We are a transitional football team. So we start from the back, we get one passes vertical, then we get another pass, and then we unlock all the offensive transition. That's the problem that we cannot have with the player that crumble a little bit under pressure, with the player that will not give the ball, that will give too much of the ball away. And that's the problem that we're having. Then counter-attack, yes, we are able to do that. We are comfortable to do that. That's clear, because that's a little bit like a transitional play, because when you're recovering the ball from that position, you come and go. So that is a counter-attack. And in that moment, we are absolutely fine. So that's why we can also sit back a little bit more. But when we recover the ball, we need to be very, very sure that we know what to do. And yesterday, even Harry Kane, when we was getting some good situation, because we all know how good is Harry Kane. So even if he's getting the ball in our half, you expect Harry Kane to get a good touch and to get a great ball, and we are lock everything in the offensive side. But he was not like that yesterday. The Brighton midfield was all over him also. So that was really frustrating game, really frustrating game. But I think that our lack of quality is key, is absolutely key. That's the main thing that we are going to look at.
So, in terms of, because we've spoken a lot about the problems that happened yesterday. Do we have any short-term solutions to them? And if not, could you give me some short-term solutions, possibly that Conte could do, or if we can't, and also just don't give me the short-term ones, give me the long-term ones in terms of players that we could bring in of the quality that could, realistic players, of course, that could solve these problems that we keep having during games against teams, for me, especially at home, like Southampton and Wolves and Brighton, where we've struggled to break them down. And examples like this, like what kind of player do we need? I don't know, just talk. Let me know what you think.
We need a lot of situation like right wing back, left centre back, centre back, and maybe a midfielder and maybe a second striker. So there are lots. I don't know if we are going to adjust everything in the summer, because that's a big task, because there are 6 positions that we need to strengthen. I want at least 5. Because if not, we're going to look in some situation the same old team, because that's also the point that we are finding ourselves. When our new player don't perform, when our key player is out, we are the same old Tottenham. The same old Tottenham that was playing bad with Nuno, the same old Tottenham that was playing bad with Mourinho, the same old Tottenham that was playing bad with Conte. These are the players that we have. So in the future, I want like really good player, like also young player for like Wilfred Singo of Torino. If I don't know if you're familiar with the name, but he's a player.
I've been hearing his name a lot, but can you tell me what kind of player he is? Because you're more of an expert in the Italian league than I am. So
I love Wilfred Singo for the reason that he's really a natural born talent in terms of physical attributes. He's one of the best athlete that you can look out there, because he's like 6'4", really strong. He's a massive right wing back. I don't remember to see right wing back that big even in the Premier League. So in that physical aspect, he will dominate every matchup. And on top of that, he's really a speed demon. He can sprint, and the time that when he's gone is gone. You know, it's that type of player that when he's getting the right run, good luck to catch him. You are not going to catch him, because he's massive. His speed is very good. His stamina is also very good. So physically, he's a talent. But the thing is that with the ball, he can improve. He will improve. He's 19. But even as we are right now, he's very comfortable with the ball. In the Torino Academy, he was playing as a centre mid. So he's a player that knows when he's coming inside of the pitch what to do. He can create space. So I think that he's that kind of player that even when you are really struggling, you can ping the ball on the wing, and he's gonna catch it. You know, that kind of player that gives you also that dimension of sometimes we are struggling, we are relying on his physicality. When you have Emerson, you cannot ping that ball. He will always lose the race versus Cucurella. There is no way that Cucurella is losing a race versus Emerson. There is no way that Lamptey is losing a race versus Reguilon. So you are not giving any threat to them. If you have Wilfred Singo, you are going to be a lot more worried about him, because if you switch up, you're not going to catch him again. And on the other side, it's very realistic, I think, because he will be available for it. And I know that people will say, yes, but he's 33 years old.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Ivan Perisic or Kostic. There are two options.
Yeah, I know.
Two options there, two clear options. I prefer Perisic still. I prefer a lot Perisic, but Kostic will be an upgrade also for obvious reason. But Perisic will give you in the same way of Singo. He's a massive guy, Perisic, for being a left wing back, and he's also both fitted. So he can play left, he can play right in the same exact way. He doesn't care. So he's a player that will give you also the versatility to play on the two sides. So if you need him on the other side, he will play on the other side. And plus, when he's on the left wing back, he's very comfortable to play with the right. And when we have seen Doherty playing versus Aston Villa on the left wing back, he was getting these kind of passes with the right inside of the pitch. And that kind of passes is easier to do with the opposite foot. So if you are on the left, you are taking it with the right. And Perisic is the specialist to do that. And that will unlock always a vertical ball. So I think that Perisic will give you all that you need. The speed, the final third is incredible, because imagine having on the same wing Son and Perisic. Son is both fitted. Perisic is both fitted. Good luck in that situation. What you're gonna close? The right is going to the left. The left is going to the right. The same with Son. Tough that to defend. So he will give us absolutely what we need. And yesterday I was talking with my brother, because also my brother is a Spurs fan, and we watch games together. And I was thinking, if we had Perisic on that side, I know that we could have done a lot better, even if we were playing shit. But because the thing is that the physical side of him, like Singo, allowed you to win some headers, to win some physical contact, second balls, this kind of thing that we lacked. Because yesterday, how many times we have won the second ball?
None.
I'll
just be honest, it was none. And
it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing by itself. Physically, they destroyed us. And Antonio Conte's system is a physical system. So if you outplay him in the physical way, Antonio Conte is done in there. So, but the good thing about the physical way, if you get the right players, it's difficult to do that, because you can prepare the tactical way, the technical way, but the physical way, it's that. If you have a massive guy, he's massive, he's gonna win the second goal. It's that simple. So for that, it's very effective. But yesterday we had Emerson, weak guy, because he's not fast, he's not the one that will give you that. Reguilon, weak. In the midfield, Bentancur was looking weak. Højbjerg was the one that maybe was winning something, but was weaker than the other one. In the defense, Davies is weak in that sense. We have a lot of weak physically player. We need to upgrade, especially on that. So Perisic and Singo will look us in a different way. In the center mid, if we're gonna get top 4 and we are getting Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, of course, would be a dream, but it's a little bit of a dream. So he will be the perfect player.
In terms of, because these are long-term solutions, in terms of short-term solutions, are there anything we can do to rectify these issues, at least for the next 6 games, 7 games?
Yeah, we can do something, and that something is Ryan Sessegnon. Is the one that in the short term in this season we can change a little bit things. If Ryan Sessegnon come into form, we are gonna play a lot better, because he's the one that is able to do something that Doherty was doing, make a presence in the opposition box, make that kind of runs. I can trust Sessegnon to do that. So that is our only hope, because if not, we are gonna stick with it. I think that with Emerson and Reguilon, we are gonna struggle. I think that we can get some wins. We are not completely hopeless. Let's not get away that Brighton is not an easy team away for anyone, not even for Liverpool at Anfield. We lose the game, but we were close to draw a game that we were not deserving, and that's a positive sign. Ruined it all by the Trossard goal, because that's ruined all, but we tend to know how to suffer a little bit, because Aston Villa we were suffering, but we get the clean sheet. Yesterday was really, really unfortunate in the end, but even though we were struggling and we were playing awful, the defensive shape were there. We were not open at the back. We were not easily. They were not running behind us very easily on getting a lot of chances. At least when we are playing shit, we know. we know that, and we say, okay, I know that this game is absolutely not a game that we can win. At least be solid at the back. And that's the thing that makes the difference, because I know that we are going to drop some more points. Arsenal is going to drop some more points, and Manchester United is going to drop some more points. So 1 point is a lot better than 0. So sometimes we need to be more focused, more experienced in that. And on Dyer, I'm really disappointed in how we defend the last. Really disappointed from him, because he's an experienced guy. He stay here for long. He knows how important it is to get 1 point, and you cannot be shy of the ball. You cannot get away from the ball when Trossard is getting the fake shot. that was too easy, almost too easy. You need to make it tougher in that situation because a 0-0 was vital, and I was really disappointed in that, and that's why also we need to improve also the Dyer position. I know that people like Dyer, and he played
I
really
agree
well.
with you personally.
There is no way
I
that we are gonna. Yeah,
yeah, because you've been a massive advocate from what I've spoken to you before about De Vrij,
yeah,
which I haven't seen as much as you have of him. Sorry, but
yeah.
I think he would be a massive upgrade on Dyer.
Oh my God, massive, man,
Yeah,
massive
yeah,
upgrade. Because people look at Dyer, and of course, when
yeah,
we were winning, it was brilliant. People were
yeah.
loving Dyer, local boy that loves, not local boy, but boy that loves the club. You can see that he's very connected with the club. He's a man but other than that, he's a good. He can distribution. His distribution can be good into the game, but on the long term, I'm not trusting Dyer. He have these kind of mistakes, and with the ball, he's good, but he's not elite. He's not an elite ball playing. He's a good ball playing. De Vrij is an elite ball playing. De Vrij can carry the ball. De Vrij can do the vertical pass, the low pass, the high pass, the long pass, the short pass. He can do everything. Of course, he's aging, but his experience, is title winning. He knows what to do. He knows how to guide a defense, and with the ball, his class. He's a little bit like that Vertonghen type of defender, with that kind of technique. Very, very technical of a midfielder, but in defense. So that's what we need exactly. So I know that he will be a massive upgrade. So if we can get from Inter two old player like Perisic and De Vrij, we are already looking like a complete
A lot
difference.
better. So, did you think yesterday also, because I thought this change was a bit weird by Brighton, but anyway, they brought on Welbeck in the second
Yeah,
half. Do you
yeah,
think he caused us a lot more problems, and if so, why? Because I felt like he was kind of pushing. You mentioned Dye just now,
yeah,
pushing people like Emerson even more as well, further back, and we couldn't seem to cope with his runs. And I don't know if you remember that
yeah,
chance where, and thankfully Welbeck isn't a good finisher, but when he
yeah,
came inside and he completely fluffed it.
yeah.
But do you think
No,
he was causing us problems? And if so,
he
like
was
what?
building up
Why?
from them, for sure. But I still think that when he come on, they were looking less dangerous when he come on, but not because of him. He was causing us problem, but we were struggling a lot more when they didn't even have one focal point of the attack.
Yeah, I felt
Before
so too.
that
Yeah,
was really risky from us because they were not looking like they could score because they were not having a clinical finisher. But in terms of how many times they were receiving the ball in dangerous position, a lot because we cannot cope with all the movements that Brighton were doing. So in some way, I think that the second half when I was seeing Welbeck in, I was saying, okay, this is our chance to get up into the field, to get something. And I was also seeing in the beginning a little bit more of a courage in the second half by the team to get a little bit more forward, to try to put your head into the opposition midfield. But that lasts very, very, very few because after that, Welbeck was causing us problems. But I think that was the midfield and was the two. And Cucurella was playing incredible.
yeah,
I'm not gonna hide.
yeah.
Cucurella was dominating completely the game. Also in the mental side, because Cucurella was getting nervous. Kulusevski, Cucurella was getting nervous. A lot of player in that pitch, and he was tough to beat, fast, very smart with the ball. They were dominating us in a lot of areas. So, but I think that the first half, without a striker, they were better. And
Yeah,
then with
I thought so too as well.
Mwepu maybe could have gone off even him as Kulusevski. I think that there was maybe a second yellow on a challenge, but not the problem. But when Mwepu got out, we look a little bit more okay. They are not gonna score yet. Then they score, of course, because that's football. But they look more dangerous with Mwepu on the pitch. And still think credit to Brighton because I think that next year
They
they're
were
gonna
brilliant.
have
They were
yeah,
brilliant
brilliant.
yesterday.
Next year they're gonna have a brilliant midfield because Caicedo is a 19 years old guy and he was brilliant yesterday. Bissouma, I don't know if he will go, if he will not, but Bissouma, Caicedo, Mwepu, three brilliant talent, three great player. And I think
I
that
thought Trossard caused us so many
yeah,
problems
yeah,
yesterday
yeah.
as well.
Absolutely correct. We can see that, but not only the goal. Trossard is a player that is very, very technical, so he knows
Yeah,
what to do with the ball, and he was getting too much space on that in a lot of situations. But all the Brighton team was all over us. It was a tough watch, really tough watch, and in the end, conceding the goal was heartbreaking. At least don't concede. Don't you dare to concede after you play like that. At least get the game 0-0, and we can take some positive and we can move on very quickly. Fortunately, Arsenal gives us
Thankfully.
absolutely thankfully. But we cannot rely on them every week. We cannot do that anymore.
So
But
do you think?
Yeah.
So do you think now that Man United, because they won yesterday, they're only 3 points behind us? Do you think Man United and Arsenal are back in the race now? Because before the game, I said to myself, if we win, there's probably a 90% chance we finish in the top 4.
Yeah.
But we lost. So now I'm saying it's about 70%.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think they're back in the race with us now? Or do you think we're still favourites? Or what do you think is going to happen?
I think that we still favorites. But things can change very quickly. So next week we can have a different conversation. Unfortunately, we don't put the cherry on the top. We don't put the win that can have us a conversation about, oh yes, 90% we are gonna get it. We cannot. The thing is that I've seen all the 2 matches, the Southampton one with Arsenal. Arsenal have a huge problem. 3 losses in a row. They are coming through, and now they are coming into a very tough run of fixtures with the Chelsea, with Manchester United, with West Ham. They have Leeds away. That also Leeds is playing very well away. They have Everton that maybe they will look for relegation points. So they have a lot of situation where and they have the North London derby. It's a really tough fixture. So, and they are already 3 losses in a row in the 3 matches that were the easiest one. So you're going to look at them and say, if versus Chelsea, they're going to get slapped, they're going to get beat.
Hopefully.
It's done. Yeah. In that situation with Arsenal, it's done. Manchester United is a problem in terms of not how good they are, because they are awful. I was seeing them versus Norwich. As we were awful, they were awful too. At home versus Norwich, they were 2-0 up. They were getting 2-2. But Norwich in all game looked very comfortable. Too easy for Norwich to get through the Manchester United midfield, to get through the Manchester United defense. There was like, I was watching the game and I was saying, Norwich can win that. Then Cristiano Ronaldo scored a free kick, and the Krul made a huge mistake in that free kick, and that cost them the points. But they were deservingly 2-2, and at home at Old Trafford. So you can see that also Manchester United is getting the points, but is not getting the performance. So this race is mediocre. We can.
Yeah. I think it feels like, to me, it's like, who's going to be the less worse?
Yeah.
to get top 4.
Because imagine having a Contes system and having Emerson and Reguilon on the bench, and you still in the top race. No, that is not the situation. So we need to take advantage of this, because, as I'm saying, if we take advantage of this situation, we get in that top 4, we get a good market. We take another step from them. We put ourselves in another level from Arsenal and Manchester United, because Arsenal have a lot of problem. Imagine 3 years in a row that you finish 8th, 7th with the system that you trusted, with the system that you buy player for that system. So they are going to have big problems into the club. Manchester United, as well as they can do with the Ten Hag, but they still need to rebuild everything, to get the players, to install the system, to install a vision. We have already done that, the first part. So install the system, install the vision, get 2 players, we get other 5 player or 4 player. There is also 6 player that Conte bring. So you're building something for the next year. And I think that if we have done that, we can dream to get top 3. And maybe upset something more than the top 4. So
yeah.
that's the thing that
at least for me, Conte is probably the best manager I've seen at Tottenham in a very, very, very long time. And I rate him more than Pochettino, definitely.
Me too. Definitely.
And I think, do you think, as someone who's a massive Conte fan, do you think he will stay long term? And if not, why not? Like, why would he go? And if he is committing, what parameters would he commit on? Because
Yeah.
I've obviously seen a lot of transfer talk lately saying that he wants assurances from the board, which I'm sure every Spurs fan wants as well, and
Yeah.
also
Yeah,
because of
absolutely.
Harry Kane as
Yeah.
well. So
No,
what do
I
you
think that
think?
that's a very interesting situation because with Conte, I know that he will stay. He will stay for the next year for sure. Um, and you can never know what Antonio Conte will do.
Mm.
It's a bit of a madness. I know that he will guarantee 3 years at least because he needs that
Oh,
time.
you think so?
To,
Okay.
yeah, because he needs that time to have a full Conte team with players that he can trust, with players that he at least 2 years or 3. He doesn't take a lot of time to get a team very competitive. It doesn't take a lot of time. So, but after that, he can stay for sure. He can stay. He would love to stay. I know that he would love to stay. The problem is that are you willing to back him season after season after season, not backing in the term of a lot of money spent, but he will be very, very precise, very about who you need to sell, who you need to move on, who you need to bring. It's a really, really, really exhausting at long for players, for everything. So you need every time a change. So for example, the time that he was going out of Juventus, for example, he had a brilliant team there, 3 Scudetto in a row last season, 102 points. They were flying. But in the summer, they were not getting new players. They were not getting players that could have upset this kind of regular player. So there was not the competition. And also the player were a little bit tired after getting with Conte, because Conte said in an interview, I cannot do much more with this group of players. We already achieved the best. So I can feel that they cannot improve anymore, but not in a negative way. They get 102 points, so it's very difficult to improve. But he wants to improve even in that situation. He's not good with that, so he will demand more. And maybe at some point the usual, even not the Inter one, because the Inter was a financial crisis.
Yeah, I
But
remember.
the other situation was like, at some point, Antonio, calm down. We have won the league. We can relax a little bit, and he's not relaxing. He say he's not good enough. And I remember that year in January they lose Juventus lose Matri and Giaccherini, 2 players that Giaccherini was playing with Sunderland. Matri is not an amazing player, and in January he was crying and moaning every week
Okay.
because he said we Matri goes to Juventus to Milan, so now Milan is better than us, or Giaccherini goes away, so we are not replacing Giaccherini. I cannot work, and he gets the Scudetto with 102 points after all the crying, all the moaning. It's like that. So people need to understand that even if at some point in an ideal world we are going to win the league, you will not be the one that will say, "Oh, how good we are." He's going to say, I need new players. This is not good enough."
He sounds a
You
lot
will
like
be
me.
told,
But...
oh my God. At some point, he's unlikable, but you know what is his vision. You know the outcome, what will be. But listen, even if he goes 3 years and then he will leave this club in a much better position in terms of squad, in terms of foundation, in terms of idea. You can get a next manager that maybe will continue the work of Antonio Conte. So he will always leave something at the club, but he needs at least to stay, I think, 3 years, 2 years to get something that you can carry on.
So I was going to ask you about Paratici and Conte, because obviously they've worked together before. So do you think they will work well at Tottenham together? And do you think what happened in January with letting go of players like Ali, Lo Celso, and Ndombele, which hopefully he stays for good, but I think he's going to come back in the summer, unfortunately. Do you think that was an indication that we will see a change in the way Spurs do transfer business under, and that there's a that's right word, synchronicity between Paratici, Conte, and finally, hope this is correct, Levy. Do you think that's a huge indication? And do you think the summer will be like that?
Yes, that's the way that I'm looking at the situation, and I'm quite sure that is the scenario. Getting Paratici and Conte change a lot of things in the club. The way that you are gonna get involved into the transfer is different. Levy cannot be the same Levy that we all know. There is Conte, there is Paratici, and them two will collaborate very well. They know each other. Paratici knows what Conte needs. Paratici is a very good negotiator. He can be that man that will bring you the player that you need. Maybe will not be very creative. He's not very good if you say, give me some player without a direction. But if you have a direction, you will get it right. So we're going to look at a very, very dangerous duel on the market, Conte and Paratici. They knows how to do that. And we're going to change everything about we are going to do the transfer, even the timing of the signings. We need to get signings first early when the windows open, because we need him from pre-season. So that's also a different situation. We are going to get player not based on the potential of what they can do, or how much they can be sold for, but we are going to get player because they are going to fit immediately into the system. Two different complete side of it. So we are going to not look at Ndombele, Di Lo Celso, then Kudu, all this kind of player that you bring, hoping that they can develop. You will bring player that you know that they will develop, because that is the system where you're putting him. So that's also a reason why he's very stubborn, because also in the summer you got the benefits of that, because there is no way, and you know that I'm going to play like that, because I proved that I always going to play like that. So if you want to come with me, I will give you that situation every time. So I think that we're going to change a lot. Top four, lastly on top four.
You think top four, yes or no?
Yes, I think yes. I think
yes,
that will be difficult, definitely difficult. But still, we remember where we were 6 months ago. We remember no chance of top four. That team was looking no chance of top four. Right now we are finding ourselves in a driving seat. If we get top four, is a miracle, and I still say that. I still believe that is a big achievement for us, because the way that we were winning games in a row, the way that we bounced back from a difficult period, that was not expected. I was not expecting that. So regardless of how this season go, I know that we get to the next season knowing that this system can be very dangerous and can be lethal, but we need to add the quality. But if we get top four, we get a massive boost in the transfer windows. We can really dream big.
Because I feel like it will probably go down to the North London derby, because I can't see us, especially after the Brighton game yesterday, I can't see us not dropping points anywhere else. I think we might. Even next week against Brentford, I'm not as confident as I was. So
I'm a little bit more confident for Brentford. I will say this positive side, not because Brentford is a tough place to go. But at the same time, we are away. They are playing exciting football. They will play their football. Open. They will be more open because they will play their football. They have technical players. Their fans are enjoying the season as they are going, because they are having great results. So they will try to enjoy themselves. They don't have a lot to play. They will try to enjoy themselves. And in that moment, maybe we can be ruthless and ruin all of it with our very schematic system. That's where I want to see us. But
so Sessegnon to start, you think, as well?
Yeah.
I think he'll start. Yeah. So do you think also, I find with Conte, he's buying specialist type of players, if that makes sense. He wants specialist kind of players.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that he's trying to see that we need. I think that in this last part of the season, we need a little bit to drop our expectation a little bit. Unfortunately, we need to resist, because we are gonna see. I hope that we are gonna see again the 4-0, the 5-0, the 5-1. Don't sure, because right now it's a high intense situation. If we are able to get a 4-0 win at Bradford, for example, that will be a massive boost. I think that realistically we need 4 wins to get top.
Because I think for me, I've written off Liverpool. I don't think we'll get anything then from that game.
No. We can lose Liverpool and another game, and that's all.
I just think Liverpool looked way too strong. I don't think I watched the game yesterday. But
I think that's when we had the Doherty. I'm not gonna hide. I was almost believing that we could do something, but without even Doherty, if Sessegnon is not playing well, we cannot get anything out of that. We need to upset them on the flanks, and we can with the Doherty and Sessegnon. So Arnold and Robertson you can keep them a little bit more quiet. But if we don't have that kind of situation, them too will dominate our flanks. So that will be a problem. But listen, we need to lose maximum 2 games. And if we get to Brighton, we win versus Brighton, then we have Leicester. Of course, Leicester is tough. But Leicester away is not the best team in the world. They are struggling this season a little bit in the away. And then they have a big game of Conference League. So they will be focused on that. So they will rest some players. That's also a thing that we can look at and exploit. Then we have Anfield. But at that point, Arsenal have already played with them 3 big games. So we see how much they're going to get. Because that's a dangerous situation only because if Arsenal get 3 points against Chelsea, that's a problem.
Wednesday.
That's a big problem. The confidence boost, the 3 points.
I think Liverpool playing Man United on Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
I think that Liverpool winning that. So,
If Manchester United and Arsenal win them 2 games, that is a very bad.
We're in trouble, I think.
But if they lose, we can relax a little bit because Arsenal is getting in a crisis. 4 losses in a row. It's tough for every team. Even when we were like in that situation, we were in a crisis. Conte was going crazy. Everyone was going crazy, and that's where you don't want to be in the end of the season. So Arsenal, I think that they are complicating the situation by themselves, but that's another story. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Jacko. It's been brilliant. You're for anyone who's watching this or watches this back, Jacko is the Conte expert. I consider him the Conte expert and an Italian football expert myself. You seem to know a lot about Conte and a lot about the way he works. So if you want to follow him, I've left his @ on the banner below. So it's @JackoCats. And my @ is actually on here, Hasper92. And you want to subscribe to the channel is Hasper TV. So I'm sure I'm going to try and get Jacko on again because
no problem about that. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
The thing about you is you know what you're talking about. So,
you
have such a huge knowledge of Italian football. So.
I spend a lot of time watching football, so fortunately I know something. If not, I will waste my time. So that's the thing that
okay.
I'm happy that you can see that. Yeah.
And Jacko, I hope you have a lovely Easter, and whoever else is watching this. Has a lovely Easter as well, and it's been great doing this. So take care, everyone. Happy Easter, and take care. Bye.
Bye, guys. See you the next time.